behalf of my sisters, Sharon and Catherine, and my brother John, and welcome you all here. Thank you so very much for coming. My name is Jo. For those of you who don't know me, Jo Watson. And I want to tell you a little bit, start off by telling you a little bit about Mum. Mum, or Janice, is one of those people that all of you probably know, someone like her, someone in the community that is the go-to person. You know, the coordinator of Meals on Wheels, the casserole bank lady, you know, the volunteer with St Vincent de Paul. She's the very competent kid wrangler of all her many grandchildren. And yes, Matthew, you can laugh, but you're quite a handful. So she's all those things. And some of you, I'm pretty sure most of you would know what happened to Mum, but I'll very quickly tell you. Back in October 2010, in between the infamous St Kilda Collingwood Grand Finals, you know, that week, Mum developed a golden staph infection, which has resulted in multiple spinal abscesses, leaving her permanent quadriplegic, so paralysed from the neck down. So she spent a long time in hospital, nearly a year. She was in Austin ICU, and then she was Austin spinal unit, and then she was at Talbot for a long time. And now she's finally home in Vermont with Dad, with very not a lot of support from our public support system, unfortunately. We've got a very broken disability support system, many of you know that, and aged care system, unfortunately. So it's estimated that 20% of you have a disability. So 20% of Australians have disability. So that might be as a result of cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, or it might be an acquired injury, like the case for Mum. You might slip in the bath, you might dive into a pool, you might have a car accident. And I know that that's sounding all very bleak, but the reality is we need to talk about this stuff because we live in a country that has, like I said, a very broken disability support system. Currently in Australia, our disability support system is based on a cruel lottery whereby your access to funding and support is dependent on how your disability was acquired. So, if you had a car accident, you would qualify for TAC, or Transport Accident Commission. Yep. Is that it? Yep. Or if you had an accident at work, it would be a lot easier to get funding. So if Mum had acquired her disability as a result of a car accident, she'd be in a lot better position. And we wouldn't have to run fundraisers like this. Mum doesn't think it's very funny, but I do, when I say, let's hop in the car and have a bit of a car accident, and oh my God, you can't move anymore. And perhaps we might get a little bit more funding if we did that, but anyway, she doesn't find that very funny. Now, an additional blow for Mum is that she acquired her disability after the age of 65. So she acquired it when she was 67. So this means that she doesn't get disability support services, she gets aged support services, which for someone with a significant physical disability like quadriplegia, it's vastly different. She's on an each package, which means that she doesn't qualify for equipment either. So she's pretty much fallen through every bloody crack there could be, poor Mum. So what needs to happen in this country, this so-called lucky country? Many of you would be aware that there's bipartisan support for a National Disability Scheme, National Disability Insurance Scheme. You might have heard the acronym NDIS. It was recommended by the Productivity Commission last year, and what this would mean is profound reform in this country around disability supports and services, as profound as Medicare was last century. So we're talking major change here. An NDIS would provide people with a disability and their families and carers with the regular care, support, therapy and equipment they need, not desire, but they need it, and they need it now. Now, I've said that we have federal bipartisan agreement for an NDIS. However, recently, Tony Abbott gave us a glimpse of his hand around the NDIS. In a recent National Press Club speech, Abbott articulated that although the opposition supports an NDIS, it would not implement this scheme until our country was in surplus. So let me read to you Stella Young's response to that. A lot of you would know who Stella Young is. She's an amazing disability advocate living in Brunswick, incredible woman, and she's told me that I can quote her here tonight. In response to Tony's press conference, she said, "The thing is, Mr Abbott, fixing the broken disability system we have in this country isn't like saving all your pocket money until you finally afford that CD player you so desperately wanted when you were 12. It's not a luxury item that we can simply do without until there's some spare cash floating around. What you said yesterday makes it very clear that you see improving the living conditions of people with disabilities and our families as an indulgence. This is beyond alarming. Whether or not we have the money, this cannot wait. Would you be happy to lead a nation that ranks last among OECD countries for disability care and support and not do anything to change it? That is the current situation, and that's very surprising to a lot of Australians." She goes on to challenge Tony Abbott to spend a week in the shoes of people with disabilities in this country. She says, "For that week, your ancient wheelchair will be broken and you won't be able to afford to fix it. A stranger will come to your house and shower you, not daily, because many people who require that kind of personal support are only entitled to 2 showers a week. And that's under the current system. The other days you'll feel grotty and reluctant to leave the house, even if you had the equipment and support to do so. You might even be living in a nursing home where you're the youngest resident by 50 years because you can't access any support to live in your own home. Perhaps for that week you'll be unable to speak or to interact with anyone because you're still waiting for funding for a communication device. You won't have a job, despite being a highly capable employee, not just willing but desperate to participate in the workforce." And she goes on to point out to Tony, "If you invest in people with disabilities, we can contribute to your much-loved surplus. If people have access to equipment, to education and training, to support in the workplace, we can work. We won't be relying on the disability support pension. We can ourselves employ people as our support workers. We can participate in the economic life of the nation you so desire to see in strong surplus." So I hope that Stella's words about the NDIS and the Every Australian Counts campaign have inspired you. We've got lots of information about the NDIS and the campaign on your tables, and I encourage you to read it, support it, go to the website. It's very important, and it's not a done deal as yet, so we really need to get behind this scheme. So we're here tonight to have some fun and to raise some money for Mum. And there's so many people that I need to thank, and you know all who you are. Hill and Joe and Rob, I don't even know where you are, but you know I love you and I can't thank you enough. Let me introduce you to the wonderful Stephen Snellerman, who has so kindly agreed to be our host this evening. Many of you will know of Stephen's work as music producer and presenter on the ABC and Classic FM programs. He's the founding presenter and producer of Radio National's programs Music Deli, Live on Stage, Free Range and Terra Incognita. He also has won 5 ARIA Awards, and produced 3 platinum-selling CDs. I'm sure there's lots I've missed, Stephen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand the proceedings over to Stephen.
Thank you very much, Joe.